Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Lester Corp. How may we meet your filing needs?
No. My name is Craig Schwartz, and I have an interview with Dr. Lester.
Please have a seat, Mr. Juarez.
Schwartz.
Pardon?
Schwartz.
I'm sorry. I have no idea what you're saying to me right now.
My name is Schwartz.
My name is Warts. Mr. Juarez?
Oh, yes?
Chest.
I said yes.
You suggest what? I'm sorry, I have no time for piddling suggestions from mumbling job applicants.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network, a weekly podcast discussing movie news, reviews, and recommendations. Our theme this week is surrealism in film, and we just heard a scene from Being John Malkovich, definitely one of the most surreal films in recent memory. Actually, not all that recent. It's a 24-year-old film, which is kind of hard to fathom for me. In a little bit, of course, we'll be reviewing the latest from visionary director Ari Aster in his Oedipal nightmare, Beau is Afraid, and offering up in our recommendation shelf segment a few more films that we love that cater to the surreal. I am Nathan Schur, and with me are Ellie Escobar, and filling in today for Sam is Carlos Aviles.
Hey, how's it going?
Ellie, please, can you introduce Carlos? Who is this guy?
Honestly, I don't know. I think he might be related to me.
Well, okay, let's not bury the lead here.
Maybe.
Carlos, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. So my name's Carlos. If you don't know, I'm Ellie's son, and I'm also an actor, like my mom.
Yeah.
So I've been doing background works since like 2016 now, and I've done like commercial stuff too. But I'm also a Twitch streamer, which I got really heavily involved during the pandemic because like everything was shut down. Wasn't getting too many roles. So that's when I started doing content creation for Twitch, YouTube. Now I'm starting doing TikToks. And Twitch is, if you don't know what Twitch is, it's a very video game centric live streaming platform. But you can stream anything on that. Like you can do like anything, like cooking streams, anything you think of. But mainly my focus is video games because I'm a big gamer and I also love movies. And I think it's a good time to be both of those things because a lot of movies and TV shows are adapting video games to film and TV, like Last of Us and the Mario movie that just came out. So it's a really good time to be a gamer and a moviegoer. So yeah, you can find me at twitch.tv/Inkadu, YouTube, Inkadu, everything.
You should tell them. You should tell them what Inkadu stands for and why you got that name.
Oh, Inkadu is a nickname that my uncle gave me when he was in college. When I was born, my uncle read Gilgamesh, and so Inkadu is his like partner in those stories. So that's why he always called me Inkadu. So that's where the name comes from.
That's great. So mostly, is it video game? Is your bread and butter? Would you say?
Yeah.
And what are the games that you are most into?
So I'm into all kinds of games. I'm what's called a variety streamer. So like I can stream like different kinds of games. So I'll go into competitive gaming, which is like mostly first person shooters, or story like centric games where it's more of a campaign where you go through a whole story, like The Last of Us, which was a very story driven game. And now the TV show is on HBO. Like, everybody should go watch that. Highly recommend that show. It'll give you a taste of what like the gamers experienced during our playthrough of that game, that story.
I will admit that I never played the Last of Us video games, but you know what I did? Before I watched the show, I went onto YouTube and I watched a walkthrough of the first game just to get an idea of what the show was going to be like. And I didn't watch it with commentary, but it was really cool seeing this game. It was probably like a 9-hour video, and I skipped through some of the game playing, but I went through a lot of the cutscenes and stuff. But it was really cool that this stuff exists on YouTube of all these people playing these games and uploading it there. And there was some cool commentary, with these, I don't know, streamers, or I hesitate to call them Twitchers. I want to call them Twitchers. That sounds not appropriate, but I don't know what the right word or phrase or.
It's just streamers.
Streamers, okay.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. And it was really cool comparing and seeing how they interpreted the TV show from the original game. And it was a lot of fun doing that. So I was going episode by episode and watching it in 10 parts, this YouTube, I wouldn't call it a YouTube show, but it was, that's how I ingested the Last of Us TV show on HBO, by also watching it on YouTube.
Yeah,
and
it's really great.
It was a fun way of taking in that show.
No,
Ellie, I don't think I shared that with you. That's how I watched it.
Thanks. Yeah,
I've never done that before.
Holding back there.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you shared that with us, and please tell me again. You'll tell me after offline what all your handles are and your contacts. So we'll put that in the show notes as well, so that people can find you and follow you that do listen to the show, because it sounds fascinating. And I will follow you as well, because I like to see what for myself what you do. So all right, very cool. Ellie, anything that you want to mention that you've been doing this past week?
Actually, I haven't really done much this week. I just worked, and what else did I do? Except that my son and I are challenging each other to run the Boston Marathon this coming year.
That's incredible.
We started training last week, running. Every day gets easier, but I found out that to even get a little number, the beeb, there's 2 ways to enter. Either you can run it in 3 hours and qualify, or you can get a charity and raise $5,000. Yeah, so I'm not running it in 3 hours, Nathan.
That's very, very hard to do. I'm familiar with this. Not that I ran the marathon, but my wife, Lori, has run the marathon 4 times, the Boston Marathon, and she did it for a charity. And she did it for the American Liver Foundation, and 3 times, and 1 time for another foundation. I'm blanking on it now. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt or hijack this, but go ahead.
So I don't know what it takes, but I'm one that loves to learn, and I challenge myself to a lot of different things. Let me see what else. My short film was presented in a festival this weekend. That was pretty cool. What else? That's a low key week and weekend. If I sound a little weird on my voice, it's because I think I'm having allergy issues right now, and I have a lot of gooey stuff inside. gooey.
All right.
Gooey. I'm
That's
sorry.
wonderful. Thank you for sharing that part the most.
Just had to say that. But And yeah, and I miss Sam. Sam, are you listening?
He'll probably hear this when
on
we
a good
get it up
note, you know,
online, when it's
Nathan,
out
if
there.
I
Yeah.
have to be
You're
out
not
one
like-
day, now we know that Carlos can be a substitute too.
Yeah, that's great. We
Yeah.
need to increase our bench, as I like to say.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, wonderful. You know, well, I'm glad you asked, because I just did think of something right now that I probably should mention, because it's related to some exciting film news. This past week, one of my films got a wonderful review and plug on another podcast. The UK Film Club is a podcast, and they reviewed my short film, The End Is Nigh. And I actually had to pull it up while we were talking right now, because I completely forgot to mention this. This is a podcast, obviously, that is based out in the UK. And I think it was on the 27th of April. This is their third or fourth episode that they put out. They reviewed The End Is Nigh, and it was about a 12-minute review, and it was a glowing review, and I'm really excited about it. I will put a link to that in the show notes as well. It was wonderful hearing them. I played it for my daughter as well. They said some wonderful things in that, because she is the star of the movie, and it was just really nice to hear some people say some nice things, because it's been a while since I've received any accolades for anything I've created in a while. It was really nice, because I've been kind of quiet on the film front for a little while. So yeah, the UK Film Club, their podcast, I think it's just called, I pulled it up right here right now. Let me just mention it. It's called, just the UK Film Club, and episode 3 or 4. I'll find out. I'll put it in the show notes. And it's at like the 53-minute mark, I think it is, because they review a bunch of films, like John Wick 4. They also reviewed, and they go from John Wick 4 to The End Is Nigh, all in the same episode.
When do we get to see that film? Have you shared that yet or no?
It's been on. It's free on YouTube.
She's so cute.
Yeah.
Your daughter. She's so adorable. She's very wise.
Yeah. Oh well. While we were doing the episode last week, she kept eavesdropping on us. It was hard to concentrate. I'm recording from our family room, and like 20 feet away from me, she keeps like coming up the stairs and like, what are you guys? Are you talking about me? What are you guys doing? Like, it was not the easiest recording last week.
But I feel
for
like
various reasons. If any of our listeners heard last week's episode, our audio quality wasn't as
That was
pinnacle.
hard. That was hard.
So anyway, it was the hardest edit of my life. That's what That's what I did last week. I edited last week's show. It took me six and a half hours of editing last week's show, because it wasn't just Sam's. While Sam was driving the entire episode, but for whatever reason, because I was on Wi-Fi, and I think maybe you were on Wi-Fi, our audio was not optimal at all. So you could hear that everything had this very distorted sound to it. So it sounded like garbage. It did. I apologize, audience. Our audio last week just took a major hit, and I don't know why that is. So anyways, let's never talk about it again. Move on.
Hey guys, wishing you a great and successful podcast this week. I successfully arrived in Bali, Indonesia. I have a newfound respect for the Pacific Ocean and the enormity of it, as it took the commercial airliner I was on 15 hours to cross it, going about 575 miles an hour, so it was about an 8,000-mile distance. Just amazing. I would like to mention, in the movie world, I did see Babylon on the plane, which I surprisingly enjoyed, Damien Chazelle's Babylon. It was a little bit of a mess, and I understand the critics' opinions of it, but I found myself almost moved to tears by a lot of scenes. There's a lot of great moments. I was surprised. It is excessive, but it was better than I thought. I also saw A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks, and again, I was pleasantly surprised by that. These are two films, the previews of which did not look interesting to me at all and didn't really market it as interesting, and I thought the movies were better than their trailers, so that was good. Anyway, I've only been in Bali one day, so I'm just going to tell a quick story. But it's a great start. It's unbelievably spectacular here. I'm overwhelmed and overstimulated by this environment. It's just beautiful. I walked out onto the beach near where I was staying, and someone walked up to me and said, "Would you like to try a jet skiing?" I said, "I've never done that before." They said, "No problem." I gave them a very small payment. They got on a jet ski with me, took me out into the ocean, trained me for 1 minute, then got off, and they got on another jet ski and just told me to go ride around. So I did that, and I felt like a villain from Avatar: The Way of Water, bobbing up and down in the ocean, speeding around. In fact, I yelled at the top of my lungs at one point humorously, "Let's go get some Tulkoon! Let's make some money!" But that went well. It was a little nerve-wracking because the driving sideways through the waves, when they would roll and kind of hit you, I found it very wobbly. But interestingly, the faster you go on a jet ski, the smoother it feels. It just was, I'd never, driven one before. So here I was jet lagged just on the open ocean doing this, going, how did this happen? But anyway, all is well with me. A lot more stories to tell. I'm here to shoot new YouTube episodes of my Walks of World adventure series on YouTube. My Walks of World handle is Walks of World 1981, and I will keep you guys updated with more. Have a great podcast, and talk to you soon. Kirk out.
I am so sorry for what your daddy passed down to you. But I wanted a child. The greatest gift of my life.
I'm visiting my mother tomorrow.
Hi, Carrot. It's Mom. I'm just calling to say that I'm so excited to see you tomorrow. You're my angel, and I love you. Okay. I love you. Okay, bye, sweetie. I love you.
Are you at the airport?
I'm on my way. It's not safe, is it? What do you think I should do?
I'm sure you'll do the right thing, sweetheart.
All right. That was a clip from the trailer of Beau is Afraid, and the IMDb plot synopsis says, following the sudden death of his mother, a mild-mannered but anxiety-ridden man confronts his darkest fears as he embarks on an epic odyssey back home. We all saw this movie this past week. I actually just saw this movie. Oh my God. I got out of the theater about 4 hours ago. This is not the kind of movie that you should watch and process immediately and then jump on a podcast. I'm not going to speak first about this. I don't like to, but I am still majorly processing this movie, and I probably need another week to formulate thoughts on this. But I always throw somebody else into the fire first on this. So who would like to speak first?
So Carlos, every time we come to this segment, Nathan asks who would like to go first, and I always throw Sam in there first. I would say Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Sam.
Yeah.
Oh.
Carlos.
So I don't know how many people out there are familiar with Ari Aster's work, but he is a master of horror and gore. And there are elements to that in this film, but it's more of a comedy. And this is his first time cracking at a comedy horror kind of genre, kind of take on this film. And the surrealist genre is nailing that theme of this movie like perfectly. Because this movie is surreal to like every extent possible. And honestly, I think it works for this film and for Joaquin Phoenix, who's the star in this movie. And like,
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Joaquin Phoenix is an incredible actor. He got the Oscar a few years ago for Joker. And part of me believes that Joaquin Phoenix might be somewhat mentally ill. Because the way he portrays his characters and their like mental illness that they go through, it's incredible. Like his performance stands out to me, number one in this movie. I think he carries this movie like pretty much all the way through, and he's mostly the focus in this movie, anyways. But yeah, this movie,
he's barely. I don't think there's a single moment of this movie that he is not in.
No,
like he's in practically every single frame of this movie. He is this movie. Yeah.
And this movie is definitely one where you're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna get everything the first time we watch it. It's a long movie though, so you need to be prepared for 3 hours of this kind of content and this kind of like imagery, just like what the hell is going on kind of thing. But there are some deep meanings I think that I feel people can grab out of this movie, because I grabbed some good things. We can get into the spoilers later, but I think there's some stuff there. If you are familiar with Ari Aster's work, I don't think it's his best work per se, because I do love Hereditary and Midsommar. Those are very creepy, scary movies. This is more of a comedy, and it's really funny though. This is a really funny movie, as well as it being creepy as well. And I think Ari's he's just a master at that. Like he just knows how to get what the F is going on in your mind. Like he just knows. Like he just knows how to play the audience in this way. And Joaquin Phoenix is just a legend. So what do you think, Ellie, mother? How do you feel coming off this movie?
Ellie, mother. Ellie, mother. No. Well, let me see. Yeah, I just had one of those moments where you're like watching the film and you get out of the cinema and you're like, what the F did I just watch? And like Carlos says, it would probably take another watch of the film for me to understand certain parts. But Joaquin is one of my favorite actors. I love anything he does, and I'll watch anything he does. And he also did a great job with the film, and it's a little messed up because until the end, well, I won't say it because we'll do spoilers, but yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the film. I want to say it didn't even feel like I was there for 3 hours, to be honest, because I was so into the film and waiting to see what was going to happen next, that the 3 hours went like so.
Yeah, I agree with that too. That
yeah. So I'm just gonna talk in the spoilers some more about it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. The 3 hours, it doesn't feel like 3 hours, but it is 3 hours. So
and I didn't drink anything.
Yeah.
I didn't drink a thing, so I wouldn't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. 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 I would say even before I get to my thoughts on this, I did like this film, but I did feel the 3 hours a little bit anyways. Well, I'll preface my review by saying that I am also a big fan of Ari's last two films, and I love the fact that he has the full confidence of A24, which I'm extremely grateful for that. And I'm pretty sure that he's one of the few filmmakers working today that seem to have just full creative control of their visions in their films. Whether he's earned it or not, I think it's kind of a point of debate still, that I think some would argue that his movies are very divisive. But I love that. And I'd say this one might be the most contentious of all of them. This might not be my favorite of them. I think Midsommar might be still my favorite of all three of them. This one, like I said before, I'm still processing this. What I will say is I really did eat this movie up. I really did like this. To distill this down, the reason why I like this is, and I don't think it's cliche or flippant to throw around the term auteur, but I think Ari is operating on a level that I feel like he is one of the few filmmaking auteurs working out there. The attention to detail I found in this to be incredibly impressive. The scenes that take place in the first act in New York City, I think were my favorite of the movie. Ari creates this hellish nightmare version of New York City There's jumpers, junkies, street violence. Actually, probably not all that different from New York in reality. I'm kidding, but this heightened reality that's so visceral. I want to go back and watch the movie again just so I can pause and read all the graffiti on the walls. That's the attention to detail that he puts into this movie was just blew me away. I love just the detail of this. Playing in the world of the surreal is something that I'm also personally a huge fan of. As you know, Ellie, I'm not to toot my own horn, but I directed a movie that deals with themes of nightmarish, hellish realities. And I created a movie that has a character that is an audience surrogate, that it goes through this. And he's also kind of an unreliable narrator as well. So I could relate to this movie to some degree. So I thought there were some similarities to Beau's Afraid and Higher Methods.
I love
so
Higher Methods.
There.
Yeah, that's how I, by the way, Carlos, that's how I met Nathan, through that film that I did background work.
Only real difference is that, he got A24 to distribute his.
Nathan, I have to tell you, there was a moment, and I told Carlos this, where I felt it reminded me a bit of that Get Out, the movie. Yeah,
there's some. I think there's so many references to his other directors, people that have inspired him. I saw references to the Coen brothers in this movie. There are references to Martin Scorsese in this movie. He's paying tribute to a lot of other films in this movie. There's many, many of them. Cinematography in this, I loved. He's working with the same cinematographer they did with Hereditary and Midsommar, Paul Pogorzelski, which he is, I think, fantastic. So good. Midsommar, I love the bright outdoor feel, which is juxtaposed to those themes of the movie. But the aesthetic in this movie is just brilliant, especially those scenes that take place in the woods, which I found to be hypnotic. I'm trying to avoid using the adjective surreal in this movie because that's obvious. But each segment of this movie, you got the beginning of the movie that takes place in New York City. You've got the next segment of this movie that is in the suburban world. And then you have another segment of the movie that's in the woods. Each one of these feels like its own self-contained episode. And that's daring. And each one has, go ahead.
I mentioned that to my mom. I said, this movie could almost work really good as a 10 episode series.
It could.
In a way. Yeah.
It could. And each one of those has its own unique look and feel, and the special production design. The scenes that were in the suburban home, which had Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan, almost were staged like a Wes Anderson movie in some ways, So that was one of the directors I felt like he was paying homage to. So where the dinner table and everybody is in this structured.
Well, that's when when I felt like I was watching a little bit of Get Out too. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was so creepy. Those scenes too. So anyways, we'll get into spoilers in a moment, but overall, I just thought this was a fascinating film. I feel like I'm kind of blabbering here a little bit because I'm just I don't have many notes on this because I came straight from the theater and just trying to recall all of my thoughts here. But it's definitely going to be a film that stays with me for a long time. And there's just a lot to unpack. I don't feel like I've even begun to scratch the surface with all the complex issues with the relationships with his mother, the meaning of who his father was. There's so much to discuss here. We'll try to get to some of this in spoilers, but I think we're all relatively big fans of this movie. I think we just need to see what we can unpack here a little bit in spoilers. So let's get to that now. Okay, so we're talking spoilers for Beau is Afraid. Who would like to begin with some thoughts on any part of this?
I think we need to get to just the big part, the big reveal, or do we want to wait?
What would be the big reveal in this movie?
It's very big.
Oh my God. I know what you're talking about. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think we know.
Well, I mean,
you alluded to the reference to his father.
The father. Oh, so he goes up to the giant penis monster?
Yes, you said it.
That was something, monster. And that was. I mean, I don't even know if that was the most shocking thing in the movie. I mean,
nah.
Oh, probably not. But that definitely took me out of it. Like, I was like, not out of it, but like took me like aback. Just like I did not expect this at all. I just didn't expect it, but it was brilliant. For whatever reason, I just loved it.
So Carlos was saying,
so
like,
good.
you know, why the big penis, right? And then I said, well, maybe because it's a symbolism of his dad being a dick.
That, or I was interpreting it as.
Could I even say that
really
word?
Know, but all I know is that his mom was locking away suppressing his sexuality and locking away his penis in the attic for his entire childhood. It was just this repressed sexuality motif.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many layers to it. It could be. I still don't really understand the whole idea of the father necessarily.
I'm thinking that I wonder if the mom was like you say, repressing his sexuality, but I'm thinking that so she tells him that if he explodes and ejaculates or whatever, that he's gonna like die or whatever, right? And so thinking, like, why would you say that to your son? So because you don't want him to have like sexual relationships with anyone? So now he's afraid?
Well, he explains a story that her grandfather died this way, and then her husband died this way. So is she legitimately scared for Beau that this has been passed down?
I think she's just a psycho.
Hereditary thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, call back to Hereditary. Like that is like his little like a motif, you know. I mean, homage to that kind of line of thinking where he doesn't want to pass on his genetic code because like she hated his father. She probably hated his grandfather. So it's just like now she has a son. So it's like
that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. Oh.
Possibly. I thought you were referring to the other thing that I completely laughed out loud was the sex scene with Parker Posey where he finally does finish. And I thought it was gonna die, he says, and she dies on top of him. I want to tell you something. I don't know when you were in the movie theater, were you with a crowd or anything like that? I was with one other woman who was seated 3 seats left to the left of me. And I laughed so hard when that happened. And she was not enjoying the movie, by the way. She was like coughing and grunting. And I laughed this entire movie. I thought this movie was hysterical. And I couldn't help from laughing most of it. But like, I just like lost it when that happened.
No. So we were the only 2 people in the cinema, Carlos and I. So it was just like, it was really lucky. It was like our own private cinema. But you know what else was funny for me? Remember when he goes back to his apartment after everyone goes in there from the street and he's in the bathtub? He's in the bathtub and that dude is like on the ceiling. It's like, oh my God. I don't like spiders. So for me,
so when he's in his apartment at the beginning of the movie and they show a little poster behind him. It says "Worn and Brown Recluse loose in the apartment." I just and actually they showed the spider at the beginning of the movie too in the scene.
I'm glad that pays off.
Yeah, because I knew it was gonna come back at some point. You just didn't know when. And when that guy because his house gets invaded by all these homeless people and just junkies, and at the beginning of the movie, like you said, in New York, they all come into his house and they just ransack the place and. There's a guy that's still left over in the house and he's hiding above his bathtub and they have this stare off where they're just looking at each other and they're sweating. I'm like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in a movie. And then out of nowhere and unexpectedly, the brown recluse spider crawls on the guy's face and they just lose it. He falls on top of Queen Phoenix's character and they just start rolling around in the bathtub and Queen Phoenix is naked.
For an excessively long period of time.
Was that a double body for Phoenix, you think?
No way.
No,
No way. That's
He's doing all his own stunts in this.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But before that is my favorite sequence of the movie, which is when right after he is locked out of his apartment, he does take the medication that he's supposed to take with water, realizes he has no water, and he has to do this moment, this act where he puts a phone book in the door and he has to run across the street. And it's like a video game where he is like jumping over people and stuff like that. That is my favorite moment of the movie, where he has to go to the convenience store and there's a convenience store manager who is threatening to call the cops over 30 cents. and literally, like, all of the people, the junkies and the crack addicts are going into his apartment. I mean, literally, like, they're coming in like The Walking Dead. I felt like a metaphor that the demons are entering his psyche, like they're coming into his space. And I loved the way they looked. They were just like, the door was open a crack and it felt like just like a metaphor. You've let in the evil, or you let in the demons or something like that at that moment, because all like hell breaks loose after that. I mean, things were already kind of going off the wall before that, but still that felt like kind of a linchpin moment for Beau when he left the crack open and then they come in and they just like see that door open and they just go for that. So
I actually did say
that
they
moment.
look like zombies walking in.
I felt like it's a kind of representation of like his anxieties and things. Like,
oh yeah,
this is like the pressure of the world. Like, that little crack was like he let those anxieties in, and then he just lost his mind. And like those people got into his apartment, and they just destroyed everything. And I just felt like that represented pretty well. And I thought it came across.
But there
really
was
well
like,
in that movie,
for me, like there was like these moments where I felt really bad for Beau because, he's I feel like he's afraid of dying. One, right? And that's the sense that I get, that he's afraid of dying, and that's why he goes crazy when he swallows the pills with no water, and he needs to get out. He needs to, because he doesn't want to die. But I feel like there's moments in the film where I felt sad for him because he's really alone, in this world, in this chaotic world, and his mom is just horrible to him. And there are parents that do treat their kids that way. And you think about mental illness, and it's like, could we as parents, give this to our kids? And that doesn't necessarily have to be hereditary. It could be how we behave toward our kids, that we create this kind of, you think about like mass shootings in schools and what happens in that transition. Like, why are these kids doing that? So to me, Beau, it's like he can't count, he's filthy rich, obviously, but his mom is.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello, it is Ryan. And we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
But he starts the movie with him being in this horrible apartment in New York and alone and trying to get to his mom's birthday, right? And he can't make it, but his mom doesn't believe him. I just feel that there's a moment where I just feel sad for him, that he is just really alone in the world, like misunderstood.
But I'm also curious. Yes, I agree with you. We're meant to feel for Beau that, we're watching a man go through. He's being tortured for 3 hours. I mean, that's obvious.
And we're laughing at his torture, by the way.
We're laughing, but I'm also, as I'm watching this, putting all of this in check as well. Like, what here is real as well, because it's proven that Beau is an unreliable narrator in this. He's taken we know that he's under medication. Is any of this really happening to him?
Yeah, I actually question that too.
So, I think you have to ask yourself all of these questions here. So, I mean, if you can take this at surface level, at face value, that these things are happening to him and all these horrific things, because this man is punished. Every time you think that he's kind of has this uplifting moment, he's gotten over some hurdle, that moment is taken away from him immediately. He gets no breaks at all.
I said to Carlos, like, oh my God, Beau does not get one break. So, when they open up the scene where they're in the suburban home with this couple, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, he's now awakened in a nice home. He's getting a break. No. No, that was the thought.
Some Stepford Wives stuff going on there.
That girl drank the whole pint of paint. I mean, like the whole.
Oh, that was creepy. You got Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan play this suburban couple, and it seems like they're like this perfect suburban married couple, very successful. I think he is supposed to be a successful surgeon. I don't know what Amy Ryan's supposed to be, but it's implied that she is also very successful. But meanwhile, they're treating Beau like he is a child in this, and they have a real daughter who is having an absolute breakdown in the other room, and they're just ignoring her. They treat her terrible as well. You can see that. So it's
and we can't forget the other guy.
The other guy that's having PTSD of some
You think he's a soldier in the war still? Harry!
He served with their deceased son, so now he lives with them too.
And in the painting that's on the wall, and they're making a puzzle of him. They're literally deconstructing the son in a puzzle form. It's so creepy.
It's bizarre.
I want to talk about one other part of the film which we haven't talked about that much, and that is when he ends up in a forest and he meets this theater troupe, which was, I thought, a fascinating part of this movie. The theater, I wrote down the name, the Orphans of the Forest. It's actually the name. Yeah. And he's watching this play, and I thought this was I'll use the term, the most surreal part of the movie, I thought, because it becomes, I don't even know the proper phrase.
I thought it was like hypnotic in a way. It was just like I was just hypnotized into this animation, because it goes into an animation style, and then you just this narrator too that narrates this Beau's life that's not his life, but it's like
I suppose that's what like when you have shrooms must feel like or something.
Yeah, may.
Did you read the article that Joaquin Phoenix says, please do not watch this movie on mushrooms?
Did he say that?
Yes.
Awesome.
He says, whatever you do, please do not watch this movie on mushrooms.
Yeah.
Which I posted and said, this just makes me want to.
Yes. Maybe that's how you have to watch it.
But he's watching this play. And what was, Carlos, what was the way? How did you describe it? It was like an animation. It was a special.
It
was almost like
hypnotic.
It was peaceful at first too, where they talked about his life and like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah, you felt like it was an optimistic version of him, like a positive version of him.
But it got dark.
But it got dark. And it's like, it was weird because it was like a Beau if he existed in like the 1900s or something, because he goes he finds a village, he becomes like a blacksmith, has 3 kids, but then like a giant flood takes out the whole village and he's on a different country and he has to find his family that he lost, and he ends up becoming an old man, and before he dies he gets a wish from an angel, and the only way he can get to his family again is if he confesses his sins, I believe it was, and then it's like and then it brings it back to like he is an old man. He's no longer like in this animation style. He's actually going to the play, not the same play that was in the forest, but it's similar. And it's like the narrator on stage is narrating his movements as he walks towards the stage, and his 3 sons are all grown on the stage listening to the story. It's so like bizarre, weird, but I loved it. It was like so interesting. It was like, again, I said I was hypnotized by this whole like sequence of just getting here. The narrator is what hypnotized me, really. Like the way I don't know who that narrator was. I don't know who the actress was, but it was or was it the mother? Was it like Beau's mother?
No,
just narrating
what's it?
Ooh, I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know who the narrator was, but yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that.
But I love that it almost had like this like Japanese animation.
Yes.
Style. I don't know exactly what to call it, but I love the style of the
Really
animation.
Great. I love
it. It was,
yeah.
So he's approached by a man that he doesn't identify himself as his father, but he says calls out to him dad. It's never really conclusive, I feel like, who he is. This is why I need to see this movie again. I feel what? I think last thing we just need to kind of go over it just a little bit in that confrontation at the house where he does talk about the mom. First of all, I love the fact that when he gets there, he's missed the funeral, and I love the fact that there is a casket with a body and there's no head. I love that. Right. I was just like, that is this just says this is a comedy. This is it's just like
because before his mother died by a chandelier, he thought his mother died with a chandelier crashing on her head, and he has a whole conversation with a UPS guy, or that like comes across the body and tries to describe what the body is, but she doesn't have a head, so like he didn't understand like that.
That conversation with the UPS guy was so funny too, because he was like, "Okay, I didn't do this, all right, I didn't do it," but that Nathan, I didn't expect to see a corpse with no head, and
it's just like it would never happen, so
so good,
but exactly. It was just
and when he says
moment that there would be an open casket with no head.
When he says like, how did you know? Oh, because he goes, you didn't know I was dead. That wasn't dead. And she goes, I knew you weren't dead. And she's like, how do you know? Because of the scar on the hand of the woman. It's the babysitter that he had when he was little. So basically, the mom killed the babysitter.
Yeah. Or she accepted to die for her because she implies like she said like she pays off their own family, basically.
Yeah, that was.
And finally, so he leaves the house. He gets on a motorboat.
Oh wait, real quick. I do want to ask. The whole sequence of when he goes in the attic and sees the giant dick monster.
Yes.
Before that, he sees himself or
what's
his
that?
twin. That whole point where because there's flashbacks throughout the movie of him in the bathtub and his mother is yelling at another boy. So we think it's
in POV, right?
Yeah. So he's like in the bathtub watching his mother yell at his other boy, and we find out like they say that it's his twin brother. That she puts his twin brother in the attic, but is it really his twin brother or is it some part of himself, like his inner child or like some moment? Because she says it wasn't a dream, it was a memory, and it was your twin brother. And he goes up and he sees his twin brother, and it's him as an old man just chained up in the attic.
Right.
And then
but I don't think it was his twin brother. I don't think that he had his twin brother. I think it's just a part of himself, right? Like his childhood trauma or something.
I would lean toward that, but that is interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if the giant dick is also represent his repressed sexuality, right? It would assume that like this twin is his inner child too, as well in there. Has been locked away
Carlos.
for like
years. I didn't think about that. Yeah. That could be that.
Yeah, that was another sequence that I would like to rewatch and see
I mean,
Well, there's a lot of references to repressed sexuality and I mean, like, remember the Nathan Lane character, I think, says something to him when he woke up, like, one of your testicles is still distended or something like that. So it was such an odd moment. It's like he's undeveloped or something like that. It's like, that's so bizarre to tell a man in his late 40s, you know?
It's really funny. Like, you don't expect certain things to come through, but they do. And you're like, oh my God, did that just happen? I loved it. I really did enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this movie is for everybody.
No, if you don't like seeing someone tortured for 3 hours, you're not going to like this movie. You really have to be on this movie's wavelength. It is not for everyone, for sure. I would not recommend this movie to many, many people. No.
Because although it is funny, this is still Ari Aster, and he is a horror director. He is a horror filmmaker, and there's a lot of horror elements.
There are some, but I would not call this necessarily a horror movie.
No.
So
but
if you're
elements in there, for sure. Though.
His movies are getting further away from horror, and like going back to the roots of Hereditary. He's definitely. I'm glad he's doing all different types of. He's exploring different genres. And he's not just doing one thing. So
maybe the horror, it's in the torture of this one character.
For sure.
And that's, we didn't expect to see like a gruesome horror, like regular type of horror, but the torture.
Yeah, not as much gore
there you
as
go.
Midsommar or Hereditary.
Yeah, Midsommar is...
Yeah.
There's one scene at the end where you talk about when we get to the end when he's on his on the rowboat when he's in this Coliseum, right?
Yeah. Well, I was before that. So he's on a boat. He goes through a tunnel, which could be the birth canal. It could be a bunch of things. You know,
right. You have to talk about the way this movie starts, though.
He's born. Yeah. We're born. We are literally birthed at the beginning of this movie. That's the first time I think I've ever experienced that in a movie, where the first moment is the audience is birthed into a movie, which was unique and rather enjoyable. It was kind of nice, yeah. But I think it kind of bookended itself, because I feel like there is. Tell me if you had a different interpretation of it. He's going through a tunnel again at the end of this movie, and I wonder if that's supposed to be another reference to that.
Yeah. I feel like his beginning kind of way, like it's ended to his beginning kind of thing, where it's like you were born into this life and now you're leaving this life that you were subjugated to and all this stuff. Because like his mother, wait, what? I can't remember exactly how his mother. What happens to his mother again in this movie?
Well, the mother died, and remember, he strangles her again.
That's what it was.
Which really doesn't mean anything because she's already dead.
Yeah. He strangles her, and then she collapses into like a fish tank or something. Like,
yeah.
So yeah.
And then we get. I love the fact we get Richard Kind as the prosecutor in Beau's trial. I love Richard Kind.
Is he the guy at the end with the mom?
Yeah, the guy that's the prosecutor.
Yeah, the prosecutor.
He's the last guy I expected to see, who is explaining all these crimes that Beau has done in his life. And ultimately, the biggest crime that Beau has ever done, he's just guilty of being. I feel like there really is no escape for him, and so none of it really matters. He was never going to be found innocent of anything. He was guilty of being Beau.
He was born to be tortured and then to die.
Is he dead?
That's the thing. Though, what happened to him?
We see that his judgment is passed on him. His boat blows up, but if you notice, you still hear him calling for help. if you're listening, paying attention, he's still
wow.
saying, "Help me! Can I
Oh
have
yeah,
help?"
he
or something like
does.
that. And I mean, it fades away, but is he in purgatory? Is he in hell? We don't know. It's obviously left to interpretation. What is to come of him? Is he just in a nightmare? Is he in a dream? Is he wake up from this?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I
What does anything mean anything?
I like that. Does anything mean anything? Because it is exactly. Yeah. I can't tell what's real or what's not real. It's just
I think that's the idea. And of course, Ari Aster's never going to give us those answers. So that's the idea. But I like movies like this that spark these kinds of conversations. And it will drive some people absolutely insane that want definitive answers.
Yeah.
So this will always be the kind of movie that will be very divisive, where people want to know what happened. Did he live? Did he die? What does it all mean?
Yeah, it's like
not that kind of movie.
It's like because there's a crowd of people who just want to get it. They don't care. They just want it. And then there's people who's like, you don't have to get it. You're not supposed to get it. Like it is what it is, and it's like you either accept that or you don't. And I just love that Ari just doesn't really care. Like he just does what he wants, and if you can guess all the symbolism, great. If you don't, then better, right? So then you have more to go back to and talk about and listen to and all these things.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on this, or should we wrap it up?
I'm good.
I think the therapist reveal was pretty hilarious too.
Yes.
When his mom basically rigged this therapist to where he was supposed to confine in and tell all his problems with, but the therapist was actually working for his mother the whole time.
All right. So let's get to our recommendation shelf.
Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
Nope.
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
This week we're recommending surrealism in film. That is our genre, surrealism in film. And let's see, who would like to begin with their recommendation?
I'll just be
this
very
week?
quickly with my film because I've been wanting to film this, watch this film from the first time I saw the trailer, I like films like this, to be honest, just as much as I love serial killer films, I guess. But I don't know, it's probably just because whatever's in my head. So I actually truly thoroughly enjoy films like this that are weird, bizarre, out of the norm. And Swiss Army Man is one of those films, just like.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.
Beau was afraid. Have you seen this film, Nathan?
Yeah, I saw this probably 3, 4, 5, I don't know, whenever it came out, when it came to streaming. I enjoyed this a decent amount. Again, a very weird film. And Daniel Radcliffe and the other guy, I'm blanking on him right now, but what's his name?
Yeah.
Paul Dano. You know what's funny thing? I used to not be a Paul Dano fan. I have come around full circle on him. I think he is one of our best actors right now.
Yes.
And this is the movie that sold me on him. It's the final, I won't give anything away, but the way this movie wraps up, I love how there's a scene with him in the end of this movie that I think is just brilliant.
I
do
like,
say anything more than that,
it's funny enough. I'm not a big fan of Daniel Radcliffe. I'm not. And I know probably people love him from Harry Potter, but I'm more of a Paul Dano's fan. I just like there's a wittiness to him like he's offbeat. I don't know, something about him that I just love. Is not your regular dude, and without saying too much, the reason I recommend that is because for me, what it did, it took me to a different place, and there's comedy in there, and I found there was a little bit of soul in it, with Dano, trying to just the beginning of the movie, the way it starts, where he's trying to kill himself, and then all of a sudden Daniel shows up as a dead corpse, washed away from the whatever shipwreck he's been, and the way he utilizes his dead body to get him all over the place. I mean, he uses him as a machine because obviously this guy has, farts a lot, this dead body. And so he uses the gas to take him places. It's like jet ski, and I just, so many parts of this movie that I just loved. And it's, when he goes through the forest and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like when it's like I don't know, it's just he's using him as a tool to cut things with his arms to take in place. I just love the movie. Now, without me saying anything to spoil it, I can't say anything because I will spoil it. So I'm not going to spoil it. What I'm going to say is, if you have a time over the weekend and you want to watch something that's different and dreamlike, because I think this type of films are kind of like a dreamlike film, like something that you go to bed and you dream about it, because only in dreams things happen that wouldn't happen in regular life. I feel like this is how I looked at this film. It's like a dreamlike film for me.
What's interesting about that movie was I didn't know until my mother was watching it again. It's directed by the Dance.
And so there's elements of that, and and I love it because I do love everything, anything. What's it called? Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Everywhere, all at once.
But it's a little different because it's just these two. Well, there's other elements, but there's this element of this guy that befriends this corpse, and it becomes like almost like a best friend to him. I loved it, so I recommend it if you like something like that.
Yeah, great. All right, Carlos, what do you got?
So my recommendation would be it's an old film, not that old, but it came out in 2001. It's called Donnie Darko. It's starring.
When you say old film in 2001, it makes me feel really, really old. That you think a 2001 film is an old film.
Listen, I've only ever seen Jake Gyllenhaal as older, so it's wild seeing him as a teenager in this movie.
Okay,
so it's a young Jake Gyllenhaal.
I recommended a film from 1935 last week. Okay.
There's no. All these films are old. If it didn't come out this year, it's old.
Okay.
All right, but anyway, yeah, Donnie Darko is classic. Most people, I don't know if it's. I know it's a cult classic. I think it's considered a cult classic for most people. Yeah. But yeah, I think I really loved this movie when I watched it the first time. Like, I think I watched it the first time when I was in high school, and I related a lot with this character of Jake Gyllenhaal because it's just when you're young in high school, you just don't really know. You don't know if you fit in anywhere. It's just like I felt his character a lot like similar to like me in my life, and just like not really fitting in anywhere, kind of like having these like grand ideas of just like the world, the universe, and like, because this film is very metaphysical, very like oriented with time travel and not really, but like time and our space and universe, and it's very psychological as well.
Ling Ling finds a wallet on the ground filled with money. She takes the wallet to the address on the driver's license, but keeps the money inside the wallet. I'm sorry, Miss Farmer. I don't get this.
Just place an X on the lifeline in the appropriate place.
No, I mean, I know what to do. I don't get this. You can't just lump things into two categories. Things aren't that simple.
The lifeline is divided that way.
Well, life isn't that simple. I mean, who cares if Ling Ling returns the wallet and keeps the money? It has nothing to do with either fear or love.
Fear and love are the deepest of human emotions.
Okay. But you're not listening to me. There are other things that need to be taken into account here, like the whole spectrum of human emotion. You can't just lump everything into these two categories and then just deny everything else.
If you don't complete the assignment, you'll get a 0 for the day.
And I don't want to spoil too much because there is a thing with a bunny rabbit, but you will have to watch the movie to understand what I'm talking about. And yeah, it's a great movie. It has Jake Gyllenhaal. His sister in real life is his sister in the movie, which is cool. Drew Barrymore, Patrick Swayze. Yeah, and it's directed by Richard Kelly. And I really love this film. I think everybody should watch this film. It's one of my films of like, it will expand your consciousness, and just it's really just one of those films that like it makes you think about the world, and I love it. And Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the best actors of all time, in my opinion. And yeah, and you can watch this movie on HBO Max or for free on YouTube. The whole movie's on YouTube. Just type it in, you'll find it. So go watch that movie.
Great. And also it's available, I was checking on Canopy. So if you have through your library a Canopy subscription, you can get it there at no cost. So that's great. And also to backtrack, Swiss Army Man, I was checking, also available on HBO Max. By the way, soon to be just Max.
That's
for all you
weird.
HBO. So, yeah. Max.
Yeah.
So it's not even you're not even gonna refer to it as
All right.
HBO. It's just gonna be Max.
Just Max.
That's dumb.
Just Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, the reason why is because Discovery, because once they merged with Discovery, because Discovery now owns all Warner Brother property, basically, they thought that HBO would turn people off, that people wouldn't subscribe if they saw HBO in the title. So that's the reason why they got rid of it. And now it's just Max. So thank you, Discovery, for doing that.
That's right. Okay. My recommendation shelf pick this week is I think it's a fascinating film from director Tarsem Singh. Or he sometimes just goes by Tarsem. It's titled The Fall, not to be confused with Fall, which I recommended a couple months ago. But this came out in 2006. The plot is almost secondary to its production. It's basically about a stuntman who is paralyzed from working on his last film, and he's in a hospital. It partly takes place in the 1920s, but it's told in flashback. The stuntman is played by Lee Pace, and while in the hospital, he befriends a child, a young girl, who is also recovering from a broken arm. And what he does is he tells this incredible, fantastical story to this girl. And like I said, it's all told in these flashbacks. And this is where the film dives into this vivid, surrealistic rush of the senses. He shares a story or fantasy about 5 heroes, all larger-than-life characters, in this evil Governor Odious. The flashback scenes are incredibly shot. Tarsem famously didn't use any special effects for any of these scenes, but you would assume that he did. The rationale was, and I applaud him for this, it's because special effects age films. The film is such an anomaly, and it is exquisitely constructed. It's a true passion project for the director. He scouted locations for this film for 17 years.
God.
It took him another 4 years. It took him another 4 years to shoot the film. They shot in 20 countries during the production. I have a very personal connection to this film. When I saw this, probably around mid 2009, I was in a very dark place in my life. I was working in the mortgage industry. I was feeling very isolated and disconnected from the creative arts and filmmaking. And when I saw this, it was just a major dopamine rush to my brain. It's not, and the reason why is because it just showed me the world of possibilities of what a filmmaker could do with this movie was obviously made for tens of millions of dollars, but still it looks like it was just done on a Marvel budget because it's just so vivid and flashy. Now I'll preface this by saying this is not a perfect movie. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily a great movie. It's just, it has a lot of flaws, but I just have such admiration for what this director did and how he was able to do it. And it's just simply something that I feel that everybody that is into the creative arts should experience this to fully comprehend. It's one of just the most unique movies that's ever been made. So if you have the chance to find it on DVD or Blu-ray, listen to the commentary on this, because he goes into a lot of detail how they accomplished making this movie, which is really worth learning about. Unfortunately, this is the second week in a row I'm recommending a movie that is not available on streaming or VOD, which I just found out after I'm recommending this, which is really frustrating. It is, and this, and, I'm going to go into my soapbox here for a moment, because last week I think I forget. I think it was Kiss Me Goodbye or another movie.
Was it?
This, I also found out that it was just announced that Netflix DVD is discontinuing their DVD mail service. Now, I haven't been a subscriber of Netflix DVD for about 4 years or so, or 5 years. I'm not saying that people should subscribe to that, but these formats are going away, and a lot of movies are only available on physical media. And you'd be shocked how many movies are not available on streaming services or on VOD. And with the Netflix DVD service going away, I think on September 29th, it is the end of an era for physical media. And you are pretty much reliant on purchasing DVDs or on in stores, which is harder and harder to do, because, as you know, like Target and Walmart and stores like that don't carry much, or Amazon or specialty websites that have the stuff. It is getting really hard to find stuff. So I'm just saying that if you love a movie, and especially if it's an obscure title, go out and buy that media on physical disc, because you never know when it's going to go away. This is a movie that I wish I had a copy of. I've seen this movie a couple times, and I don't know how to watch it anymore. And this movie, I wish I had a copy on Blu-ray, because it is one of my favorite movies that I don't know how I'll ever watch. I mean, I could probably go on Amazon and buy it. I haven't looked on physical media, but that's what I am now faced with doing. But it's a real problem, and formats disappear. So yeah, I apologize for another recommendation that nobody can watch, but I'm just, I'm glad I'm putting it out there on
What
this
about
podcast.
the library?
So,
Your local library, wouldn't
will,
they carry something like that?
Yeah, well, some libraries may have it. This is again a kind of an obscure title, not very mainstream, so it's a little harder to find it. But just because it's not available now doesn't mean that it won't be licensed for a streaming service down the road. That's the other thing. So these things will.
But I was gonna say, I'm gonna go watch it now that you mention it. No, Eddie, you can't.
So, anyways, that is my recommendation. Please, keep your eyes out for it and check it out when you can. So those are our recommendations this week. And the last thing I'll just mention is, guess what? Next week comes Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I believe that is going to be our review next week. I'm very excited. Ellie, you guys already got your tickets,
Yes, we
right?
do. In the we have it in the
I'm
nice
excited as
seats
well.
too. Right, Carlos?
Yeah. I don't have my tickets yet, but I never have a problem in my neck of the woods finding a seat. I can usually sneak in somewhere. So I can't wait to see it. And so I don't think I need to really talk it up. I think everybody knows what that is. That is the third and sounds like it's going to be the final film in the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, James Gunn's last foray into the franchise, because he's moved over to DC. So I think we're all looking forward to that and excited about that. So yeah. And that is our show, everyone. So thank you, Carlos, for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful having you part of our team this week.
Yeah, this was fun.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. You can email us directly at backtotheframerate@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Back to the Frame Rate, and on Twitter at Back Frame Rate. We got a new handle someday. Yeah, we need a new handle. It just doesn't jive with our other handles. That sticks out like a sore thumb. Anyways, how's that TikTok coming along, Ellie?
It's coming. It's coming.
Ellie's coming along. Ellie's going to make a TikTok, and there's going to be TikToks coming out the wazoo, coming any moment. You can find past episodes of this show and other podcasts from the Weston Media Podcast Network on our website, and I will drop the link to that in the show notes. And also in the show notes, we'll have all of Carlos's information where you can find out all of his endeavors, which sound very exciting. So that's the show. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
I want you to know it's over.
Well, bye.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.